Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome to Nutshelled History. I appreciate your visit. Please make sure to go nuts on those like and subscribe buttons so that you can visit more often. Today, we're going to look at two champions for civil rights during the Progressive Era, Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois. As I do this, please know that I'm going to do my best with the pronunciations. It is not my strength. Okay, let us rewind the clock to 1895. Picture it. America is still reeling from the Civil War. Reconstruction has flopped harder than a bad reality show, and racism is basically baked into every corner of society. Now, into this less than cheerful moment in history steps Booker T. Washington, a formerly enslaved man who had worked his way up to become an educator and leader. He takes the stage at the Cotton States and International Exposition in Atlanta and gives what becomes one of the most famous speeches in African American history. This speech is later called the Atlanta Compromise, although honestly it was more of a political tightrope walk than a compromise. In it, Washington basically tells a crowd of mostly white business leaders, look, let Black Americans work hard, learn trades, prove ourselves economically useful, and in return, you can just put that whole civil rights thing on hold. We will circle back to it later. Yeah, that was the pitch. But not everybody clapped. Enter W.E.B. Du Bois, Harvard graduate, sociologist, and man with absolutely zero patience for what he saw as compromise at the cost of justice. Du Bois heard that speech and probably spit out his tea. He did not believe in waiting for freedom to be granted like it was a coupon with an expiration date. He believed in demanding it immediately. So in 1905, he and a group of like-minded thinkers and activists founded the Niagara movement. Yes, they really met near Niagara Falls, which feels symbolic. All that crashing water, unrelenting force, dramatic scenery, it fits the vibe perfectly. They wanted people to know that this was not about polite requests or patient waiting. This was about full political rights, civil rights, and social equality for Black Americans right now. Not next year, not next century. Now, if Booker T. Washington's Atlanta Compromise was a carefully worded business pitch, the Niagara movement was a protest rally with a megaphone and a stack of angry flyers. Washington believed that economic success would eventually lead to respect and equality. He thought, let us prove our value. Let us master farming, carpentry, bricklaying. If we become indispensable to the economy, the rights will follow. In other words, he was playing the long game. He was the guy who brings a board game to a revolution and says, trust me, I have a strategy. Du Bois, on the other hand, was not having it. He said, no one should have to earn basic rights. We are citizens. We pay taxes. We breathe the same air. Equality is not some bonus level you unlock after 30 years of hard labor. He believed in what he called the talented 10th, the idea that a top 10% of educated Black leaders should be lifted up to guide the rest of the community forward. It was bold, ambitious, and slightly snobby, if we are being honest. But he was not wrong about the urgency. The Niagara movement released a declaration that read like a thunderclap. They called for voting rights, equal education, an end to segregation, and legal protection from lynching. They even said Black Americans should be judged not by the color of their skin, shout out to future Martin Luther King Jr., but by their contributions to society and their rights as human beings. Of course, the Niagara movement faced huge challenges. They were often ignored or dismissed. Newspapers gave them little coverage. White officials acted like they did not exist and would not allow them to meet anywhere in the United States. That is why they had to meet in Canada. And finally, many Black leaders were still following Washington's more gradual approach. It was like trying to start a fire in a rainstorm with wet matches, but they kept striking anyway. In the long run, the Niagara movement did not last very long, but its ideas lived on. It became a foundation for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, also known as the NAACP, which Du Bois helped found in 1909. That group went on to become a powerhouse in the civil rights movement, taking cases to court, organizing protests, and eventually helping overturn segregation laws. So, while the Niagara movement itself was short-lived, it was like the opening number in a Broadway show that just gets bigger and louder as time goes on. Now, to be fair, both Washington and Du Bois were trying to protect and uplift their people. They were just doing it in wildly different ways. Washington said, let us not poke the bear. Du Bois said, forget the bear. We are coming in with torches and a list of demands. And here's the wild part. Washington and Du Bois were both right in their own ways. Economic progress is important. So is political power. You cannot build a house with just a hammer or just a blueprint. You need both. Washington brought the tools, Du Bois brought the battle plan. In the end, the Atlanta Compromise and the Niagara movement were two sides of the same struggle. One slow and steady, the other loud and fast, both aiming for the same goal. And we are still arguing over the best strategy today, whether it is about race, rights, or how long to wait in line for justice. So the next time you are debating whether to whisper, speak, or shout, remember that in the story of American progress, it often takes all three. There you have it, folks. That is 2 plans, 1 goal, Booker T. Washington, and W.E.B. Du Bois nutshelled. Thanks for stopping by Nutshelled History. Don't forget how much I love it when you smash those like and subscribe buttons for me. Okay, I'll see y'all next time on Nutshelled History.